Hey, we're so glad you dropped in, whether you're watching us across Canada, on the internet, wherever it might be. We're so glad that you could join us. We have a great program today, Maggie.
Absolutely. In a blink of an eye, life change for my guest today. Christine Matthews recounts the accident that altered her life's course forever. Christine's story is one of she was a drunk driver. And how her life transitions and changes is miraculous. So you're going to want to stay tuned for that.
You know I kind of like sports.
Just a little
bit, yeah.
Just a little.
Anyway, our production team caught up with CFL legend and all-star, just a great guy, Richie Hall, currently the defensive coordinator of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And he's going to be sharing about overcoming adversity, including a failed marriage and the death of his mom. You love this guy. That's coming up a little bit later on.
We also have my friend Esther Fleece with us today. She's recognized by CNN as 5 Women in Religion to Watch. She'll be sharing about what it means to express emotion through lament during the difficult times in our lives.
We get to do amazing interviews around here. Maggie, you had an opportunity just a few months back to interview a very interesting gentleman by the name of Magnus McFarland Burrow, and he is a pioneer, has an amazing organization. Back in 2002, his organization was feeding 200 children in Malawi, Africa. Now, more than 1 million worldwide.
Yeah, it's called Mary's Meals, and Magnus recently was recognized by CNN as one of their heroes. Let's take a look.
Please join me in honouring CNN hero, and I'm proud that he's a fellow Scotsman, Magnus McFarland Burrow.
There you go. There he is. You know, I was so inspired when I met Magnus because a lot of his story, he started off in this a tin shack.
Yeah.
Actually, him and his brother started Mary's Meals. Now they're feeding over 1 million children, changing the lives of so many families as well. And, you know, someone who has a little charity called the Baby Depot, it's so encouraging to hear about the humble beginnings of a charity like that and how it starts off with just a vision that God has given you. Maybe somebody, for him, it was a Mary. It was a woman who motivated him to do something to change the world. And it always just takes that little seed, right? And
it does.
And it's just so encouraging to see that the world is recognizing what Magnus is doing.
And regardless of big or small, you know, it all takes a team effort. And one of the things that Magnus said during his interview is, and he's a very humble guy.
Yeah, he is.
He's saying, you know, this isn't just about me. This is about all of us together as a team. And that's one of the things that we even here at 100 Huntley Street, we want to continue, you know, to present this message of Jesus, and it's done through a team. So people like Magnus who are willing to say, you know, it's not about me. Yeah, and he had Gerard Butler, pretty famous actor as well, involved, and it's just amazing what he's doing. So we're excited about that, and you know, way to go, Magnus. Congratulations.
Yeah, well, speaking of heroes, a lot of young people look up to professional athletes and dream of making it to the big stage one day. Well, Richie Hall was no different. And while he enjoyed a great professional career, it didn't come without its challenges. Here's Coach Richie Hall.
Ladies and gentlemen, football fans, at this time, we would like to introduce today's starting lineups for the 77th Grey Cup game.
Back in 1989, we played Hamilton in the Sky Dome there in Toronto, and they introduced the defense.
Number 7, Richie Hall.
And my folks and family were in the stands, and I said, you know, for those 3 or 4 seconds up in the big Jumbotron, it was going to be my face. You know, my mommy and daddy, I'm a mama's boy, so my mom and daddy could see their son fulfilling a childhood dream and get an opportunity to play in a championship game. I've never been in a situation like that at that moment, you know, so when I look at that, you know, to win the game was icing on the cake, but just to be able to be there was very special. Coaching is something that I've always wanted to do, and I knew I was always going to coach, you know, and but I never had a desire to coach professionally. And I'm going to be hypocritical here. I still don't want to coach professionally, even though I think this is the best job. I always thought growing up, when I finished playing, I would coach maybe high school.
We're going to communicate, and we're going to come out with a victory. So let's go to work. Let's go to work. DB's on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Maybe college, but definitely high school. I never visioned being a professional coach. And like I said, this is the best job in the world. But I've been very blessed to have the opportunity to live the kind of life that I've lived. I don't know how I lead. I just try to help out in any way that I can. You know, I never looked at myself as a natural leader, you know, even though people have said that I'm a leader. I just try to help people to achieve the things that they want to achieve. You know, because I do believe that in order for us to achieve anything, we all need help. I don't care who you are. And I want to be able to help people to achieve the things that they want to, because I look at my life, there's a lot of people that have helped me to get to where I'm at. I think the biggest message that I try to relate to the young people is to work hard, don't quit, you know, and to have dreams, because you're only going to go as far as you take yourself, not other people, you know, and understand that there's a price that you got to pay, because the reality is nothing's ever going to be easy, and you're always going to experience obstacles, you know, but if you're willing to keep fighting, there's going to be something that you learn through that that's going to make you a better person. At the age of 12, I accepted Christ as my personal Savior, you know, but, you know, I think that I had a misrepresentation. You know, there's one thing to accept it, okay? Then I would say about 3 or 4 years later that I truly started to commit myself to it. Has it always been an easy journey? No. It's been kind of like a roller coaster. It's been ups and downs. You know, when I went to college at Colorado State, it was the first time that I was in the world, you know, because I was brought up in a Christian home. My family was very close. And then all of a sudden, I got in a situation where I could make my own choices. I didn't have to answer to somebody. I remember being at school and I would still read my Bible and still do things and still go to church, but I wouldn't let others know that I was a Christian, that I believed in God, because I was more concerned regarding how they thought about me versus how I should live my life. It took those lessons that I've learned, even though you didn't want to learn them the way that you did, but I like to think it made my faith the way it is now. I think it's not even so much an understanding of Richie. I think the biggest thing is the lessons that you can learn through life. There was adversity. There's times that I got knocked down, but as long as you're willing to pick yourself back up and keep pushing forward, then good things are going to happen. And my faith in Christ is a result because of my shortcomings over my past. That's what's made me stronger today. You know, we all experience struggles every day. You know, that's life. You know, but you don't have to go through those struggles by yourself. And I like to think that I wouldn't have the peace in my heart without Christ. Was it easy going through the death of my mom? No. Like you said, a failed marriage. You know, I flunked out of school when I was in university. You know, I had this sickness about 1.5 years ago. But through it all, I've been blessed. At the end of the day, no matter what happens, I'm never by myself. And he's giving me that assurance that he will always take care of me. It might not always be the way that I want things, but he also knows what's best for me. And I'm so thankful, you know, that he's always been there for me.
What a humble guy, you know, and he's had an amazing career. He's certainly had some ups and downs along the way. He was coaching actually in the city where I live, Edmonton, Alberta, the Eskimos. And one of the things that was said about Richie, that he was almost too nice of a guy to be a head coach. Things didn't go well, but he is one of the greatest defensive minds in terms of the, you know, the football structure, Richie Hall. And as I say, he was also a great player. And I like sports books, especially the ones that have the pictures in it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's got lots of things, you know, the Grey Cup years, you know, just all the things that he accomplished with, especially with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Oh, and if you want to get a hold of this book, you can go online. It's called Smoke and Mirrors, and written by Richie Hall and his friend Guy Schultz. And so go online. It's a wonderful book. And if you like sports, but even more than that, hearing the life story, because all of us, Maggie, have a life story, whether it's in sports or, you know, media or whatever it is. We all have our journey along the way.
Yeah, and you know what I love about the different stories we have the privilege of highlighting here on 100 Huntley Street is that there has to be something about Jesus that makes people keep coming back and realize that their life doesn't have to be the way it is.
That's right, yeah.
You know, you hear Richie's story and you hear like one disaster after the other and loss and upset, but he says he always held on to Jesus. And so I just want to leave that as an encouragement to you. Maybe you're just kind of on the fence about Jesus. Maybe you're like, I don't know if really he could really change my life. I hope Richie's story is an encouragement to you that if he could go through so much devastation and still hold on to Jesus, that maybe there is hope for you. Not maybe. There is hope for you. So I would encourage you to call our prayer lines, 1-866-273-4444, or email prayer@crossroads.ca. Connect with one of our prayer partners that love to encourage you, pray with you, and show you that Jesus truly is the way to changing your life today. There is so much more 100 Huntley Street to come. Stay with us.
Dealing with tragedy can leave people feeling broken, mentally crippled, and lost. Don't let PTSD be a lonely road of recovery. Join the conversation on 100 Huntley Street.
We got a great show, guys. Lots to fit in, but we're going to do it. In 3, 2.
We are in the business of delivering hope every single day.
When you watch 100 Huntley Street, you're going to hear stories of transformation, great Bible teaching, people who have been changed by God, and people who are changing the world for God. Greg, your guest, amazing.
It's one of those stories you wouldn't believe until you actually hear it.
I think 100 Huntley Street is for everyone. I think everyone has gone through times of loss. Everyone is looking for hope. Everyone's looking for purpose.
100 Huntley Street is the longest running daily television show in Canada and has literally changed generations. It's a two-way experience. 100 Huntley Street is not paid for by advertisers. It's the people across Canada, partners that are giving to this ministry.
Today, I'm going to bring you a story of someone whose life was transformed while on the show.
The proof that this ministry is really making a difference is the people that we hear from.
1,200 people a day call us for prayer, and we know that they're facing the end of their marriage. We know that they're facing their kids in crisis, a mental health issue, or a job loss, financial challenges, health challenges. And they talk about how their lives are being transformed by God's love through this program.
That's really what gives us that strength to continue on.
What motivates me is the fact that Jesus has done so much in my life. And I know of friends and family who have been transformed by Jesus. This is the reason why I love being a part of this ministry, is because Jesus is the hope.
We are 100% viewer supported. We are so passionate about this media mission of bringing the message of Jesus coast to coast across Canada. We cannot do it without you. Would you please consider supporting this vital media mission? You can give online at crossroads.ca/donate or call us at 1-800-265-3100.
We all have events in our lives that cause us to wake up and realize that maybe it's time to change our lives. For my next guest, it took a car crash. Christine, thanks for joining us.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, you really are.
I really am.
Glad to be here. So it was June 25th, 2006.
Yeah.
Car crash. You were drinking and driving.
I was, yes.
And ended up in a morphine-induced coma. Yes. Take me back to that day.
Oof. Well, I don't remember 4 hours prior to the accident. Like you said, I was in a coma for about 5 days afterwards. I hit my head so hard, almost bled out at the scene. They used the jaws of life to get me out of the vehicle. I was drinking and driving. I wasn't paying attention to the road, but obviously I was so drunk, or I hit my head so hard that I don't have a real memory of what led up to that moment. I was airlifted to Sunnybrook Hospital, and the nurses and doctors, and God did a miracle on me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Take me back to who Christine was on June 24th, 2006.
Well, I was a restorative hygienist, and I, was making great money. I thought I had arrived. I had a great job, great friends, an amazing family, but I always knew that something just wasn't right.
You did know?
I knew. Like, there was always those times where it's like, I have all of this, but why am I still sad? With my alone time, why am I still sad? So, yeah.
So what did you do to kind of calm that sadness?
I drank and I partied with my friends. I did drugs. And I thought that was fulfilling, and I thought that was just me partying, but it was really just me trying to fill, so that I wouldn't be alone and I wouldn't be sad. Yeah.
And so I'm reading this list here. So injuries: shattered hip,
Yes.
lacerated liver, brain injury, collapsed lungs, broken leg. You are sitting in this hospital bed.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just broken.
Yes.
Internally as well as externally.
Yeah.
But your sister.
Yeah, bless her. Oh my goodness.
Kind of this angel in this story.
Yeah, she really is. She came to my bedside. She didn't leave my bedside. She was she worked in Burlington, would travel all the way to Sunnybrook Hospital just to be with me every single night, to pray with me. And I didn't believe in God at the time, So I remember when I finally kind of came to, and I was out of the coma, and things were starting to make sense, and they had told me, this is kind of what happened. You know, I wouldn't want to go back to sleep because when I was in the coma, it was terrifying. It was like I remember everything from that coma, and it was just like a horrible nightmare. So I didn't want to go back to sleep. So she would come and she would pray with me, and she started reading to me a book called Captivating by Stacey Eldridge. And it was through that and through her prayers and the Christian music that she gave to me that I found peace, and then I started to really question, like, who is God? You know, how come he loves me like this book says he loves me?
Why were you all of a sudden open to that conversation?
Well, I think that it was, you know, I'd lost everything at that point. You know, I thought I had everything, and it was all taken from me in one moment. And so, yeah, like it was, I had no choice in that moment but to question those things.
It's interesting because you were talking about this lifestyle where you were circulating with your friends.
Yeah.
And then I noticed in the story that your sister was there. Where were your friends?
You know what, I think 2 of them came to visit me in the hospital, and that was short-lived. You know, they just kind of disappeared. You know, one visited me at home, but I mean, we're talking months, like 2 months in the hospital, months and months of recovery after that. The full recovery took almost 4 years.
Wow.
I had a surgery 3 years later. Like, it was just, you know, it was a lot of recuperation. And the friends that I had, you know, as wonderful as I thought that they were, and, you know, I'm not saying they're not good people, because they are, but they just didn't have the stamina to stay with me, you know, so I bless them.
So what was happening in your heart towards Jesus, and how did you start to see that change?
Yeah, my sister kept talking to me about like her C group girls, like her Connect girls, and I was bedridden. Like I actually got moved from Sunnybrook to my parents' home, and they set up their whole living room there for me. And in that, she would always come and she would, you know, wash my hair, do my nails, whatever I need, because I was bedridden. And I was just like, I needed to get out of the house so bad. And like, she kept talking about these wonderful girls, and I was just like, I'll go.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who they are, but I'll go. And yeah, and it was through that, you know, like I found out that, you know, the moment the car accident happened, this entire church was praying for me. You know, these C group girls, they were all praying for me. So when I walked through the door of this woman's house, it was like, oh my goodness, Christine.
You're the walking
yeah,
miracle.
well, you're the miracle. We've been praying for you. Same thing when I entered the church. The whole church came up and gave me a hug.
But you weren't totally sold. I mean, you
No.
tried Jesus out for a while just to see.
Yeah, you know, I was really skeptical in the coma because it was terrifying. I remember praying, "Ye though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff would comfort me." And I remembered that because that was taught to me when I was a young child. You know, it wasn't something that stuck with me, you know, but it came back in the exact moment that I needed it. And so I knew that there was something to that. And so I kind of made a promise in that, you know, like, God, if you can save me from this horrifying place, I will come and find you. And I remembered that promise when I got out of the coma. And so my sister started coming, and, you know, and then I met all these C group girls, and I'm like, oh, I have to do this because I made a promise. So I did, and I started, and I kept with it. And finally, like, I started going to C group, then I started going to church, and I would just weep in worship. Like, I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't know it was God that was speaking to me in that time, you know. And so finally, about 6 months later, I listened to I'm an artist, so I'm very visual. And Affabel.
Okay.
It's an audio play, and so you have to sit and close your eyes and just listen to it. And a bunch of C group girls were doing this at their house one evening, and through that, after that, they do the sinner's prayer. And I was just bawling by that time, and I gave my heart to God in that moment, and then I gave my heart at church publicly the following Sunday.
And now you do visual arts ministry as well. Who does or what does Jesus mean to you today?
Oh my goodness, everything.
Everything. What does that mean, everything?
He's my salvation. Like, everything that everything that I've been through, you know, I almost died. You know, my life could have been so much different. If I hadn't have died in that moment, you know, I would have been in a gutter easily somewhere. He is the one that picked me up and saved me, you know. Before the car accident happened, I was so drunk and driving, And I remember crying out and saying, oh God, like if you're real, just fix me. I don't know what's wrong. And that was one of those prayers that I didn't realize just what was going to happen. You know, and a week later the crash happened. And so I see all of these things when you look back and all of it lines up, you know, and it's just such a story, you know, and God was in every single moment of it. He's always been there with me, and all I had to do was cry out. Right?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Christine, for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
I hope what Christine said to us today resonates with you. Maybe you feel broken. Maybe you feel like, God, what is this life worth living? Why am I living this life? I want to remind you that He is the author and the finisher of your life, that He orders your steps, that He loves you so desperately. And like anybody that loves somebody, they want to have that reciprocated. They want to have that love felt back. But, you know, I love Jesus because He's not going to force Himself on you, but He's there waiting for you to say, yes, I will love you too. And so I want to encourage you today that if you need to call the prayer lines, they're always available, 1-866-273-4444, or you can email prayer@crossroads.ca. And just a great reminder that we have amazing prayer partners that love you because Jesus does, that they care about you, that they volunteer their time desperately so that people will learn to love Him, Jesus, as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Society tells us we should live for today, but have we considered what lies ahead tomorrow? God promises that He has a plan for you, a plan to give you hope and a future. If you're anxious about what tomorrow holds, call our 24/7 prayer lines at 1-866-273-4444 or visit crossroads.ca/247prayer. Anytime, anywhere, we're here for you.
While summer holidays are a much-needed time that many people take to refresh and rejuvenate, for many, the hurt in their lives doesn't stop. And neither can the healing message of God's love that Crossroads broadcasts each and every day, all summer long. So we'll be hard at work, creating and broadcasting our programs on air and online to millions of viewers each week, introducing thousands to new and renewed life with Jesus as we answer 1,200 calls every day on our 24/7 prayer lines, acquiring and creating children's content to bring positive Christian values to their smartphones, and much more. While you refresh your soul this summer, know that your donation to Crossroads will keep the message of Jesus in front of people who don't yet know His life-changing love. Because hurt takes no holiday. Healing shouldn't either. Give today at crossroads.ca/donate or call us at 1-800-265-3100.
I wanted to know who I was, why I was alive, and most importantly, what the future held for me.
It's a journey that I think all of us walk through on some level or another.
I think there's something in us that cries out and says, actually, no, there has to be something more.
What's right and what's wrong? It was a 180-degree shift for me.
There was unspeakable peace in my heart.
I had a whole new set of values that began to impact my life and make me think about the direction I ought to go.
I couldn't think of anything worth seeking for in life more than that.
I remember walking into a church right after one of my good friends died. He was serving in the military and lost his life in Afghanistan. And I went to church with his now widow. And they were singing, "I have the joy, 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 joy down in my heart." And I remember I just couldn't sing the words. And the next song was a happy song, and the next song was a happy song, and the next song was a happy song. And it was one of the first times that I found myself to feel really out of place in the church. What's interesting, when you read the Bible, you see songs of lament in both the Old Testament and the New Testament. David commanded the army of men to lament after Saul died, and even Jesus himself wept when a friend of his died. And so I want to ask the question to you today, are you lamenting? Is there space in your Christian walk for this word, lament? Did you know that all three members of the Trinity express emotion and show grief? It is in the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Father grieves in both Genesis and the book of Psalms. Jesus weeps in John 11:35, and even the Holy Spirit can be grieved. Did you know that even creation groans in Romans 8:22? So if all three members of the Trinity grieve, what makes me think I will go through this life without grief and with no need for lament? We are told by Jesus in John 16 that in this world we will have trouble. And what I want to tell you is that God has given you a language to relate to him in the midst of it. This language is titled lament. It is a cry of your heart. It's an expression of grief, but it's some language that God meets us in. He doesn't turn you away. So I leave you with this verse. I cried out to God for help. I cried out to God to hear me. When I was in distress, I sought the Lord. It's Psalm 77, verses 1 and 2. When we are in distress, not if, God has given us a language of lament, and we can cry out to him. We don't have to only sing the happy songs. We can sing the book of Psalms. We can sing lament, and God hears our cry and meets us.
Thanks so much, Esther. And Esther is our guest Bible teacher
good to have her here
this week. When you think about Esther's story, she has gone through so much in her life. She's written a great book, No Faking Fine, but so much pain, and yet she says you can still rejoice in that pain. And I think that's reassuring, especially for those of us who believe in Jesus, knowing that we're not walking this alone.
We're not, and Christine Matthews, same thing, all the pain. And, I'm actually reading a book right now, getting prepared for an upcoming guest, and talking about lamenting, what does that mean? So I'm actually starting to get a little bit of an understanding. We have a book in the Bible called Lamentations, and really, crying out to God and the sorrow, and he sees that. And if you're feeling some sorrow today, we'd encourage you to call our prayer lines, 1-866-273-4444. There are people that will pray with you, and if you're just feeling in that place where you have no hope, there is a God that loves you, and he will bring you hope.
And you're not alone in this. Whatever pain that you're going through today, just know that you are not alone. You might feel that way. Somebody we believe, we know exists as the enemy that wants you to feel like you're alone.
Yeah.
But God is with you throughout all of this. He is guiding you through it, and he is there if you call out to him today.
And the church is a part of the community. And if you're feeling that loneliness, we have people that'll connect you with a great church in your area right across Canada. And so again, give us a call, and we'd love to be able to connect you with one of our prayer partners, or you can go online, or at least email at prayer@crossroads.ca.
Thanks for watching today.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you for your ongoing support of Crossroads, a member of the Canadian Council of Christian Charities. You can write to Crossroads, P.O. Box 5100, Burlington, Ontario, L7R 4M2.
Deeks Insurance is a proud sponsor of the 100 Huntley Street studio.
Do you talk to God about his plans for you? Are you often busy, feeling like time is just slipping away? Do you tend to focus on the far-off future, or are you feeling stretched by daily demands? Why not pause and pray?
You'd be able to say, "Good morning, Lord. What do you have in store for me today?"
What If God Wrote Your To-Do List by New York Times bestselling author J. Payleitner will help you embrace opportunities to grow closer to God, reach out to others, and take better care of yourself. This is a to-do list for your soul.
Small things matter. You don't know what you're doing today that's gonna lead to greater things.
God is calling you to make the most of each day and live life to the fullest. And Crossroads wants to help you do just that. When you make a suggested donation of $45 or more this month, be sure to request a copy of this book as our thanks for your ministry support. Call 1-800-265-3100 or visit crossroads.ca/donate.